Hi guys, it's Miss Grace with this week's Grab and Go activity. So first I'm going to tell you what our topic is, and then we're going to go into a little bit of information about our topic, and I'm going to show you what's in our Grab and Go bag. So as you can see, our topic is honeybees. So this week's Grab and Go activity is going to be for you to create a mason bee house to hang up outside. Now, a little bit of information about mason bees and other native bees. So did you know that there are 4,000 species of native bees here in the United States, and that honeybees are not one of them? So honeybees are what we typically think of when we think of, when I say bee, a honeybee is usually what you're going to be thinking of. But actually honeybees are not native to the United States. They came to the United States by the European settlers. They brought them over when they came, but they are not native to the United States. Another fact is that our native bee population, they pollinate about 80% of our flowering plants, and about 75% of our fruits, our nuts, and our vegetables. So that is a lot. That is a very big number of all of our plants that need pollinating here are pollinated by our native bees, not our honeybees. Honeybees do pollinate some of our flowers and things, but not as much as our native bee species. Another fun fact about native bees is that they can tolerate colder temperatures better than the honeybees. So in the springtime, when our flowers are first starting to pop up and you start seeing those bees out and about on the flowers, those are actually probably our native bees, not our honeybees, because the native bees, they can tolerate that cold weather. Now, I'm going to give you a few differences between native bees and honeybees. So native bees tend to either live alone or with one other bee, their mate, while honeybees tend to live together in a group, in a hive, in a colony. They have a queen bee, they all live and work together. So that's usually what you think of when you think of bees. You think of that group that lives together in a hive with a queen. But that's not how our native bees live. Another thing about native bees is that they are less aggressive than a honeybee. So they don't swarm like honeybees do. You don't see a big swarm of them flying around because they live alone. They rarely sting. They can sting, but they rarely sting. And when they do sting, it doesn't hurt as much as a honeybee sting will. Now, another thing for us to know about native bees is, remember when we talked about butterflies in last month's Grab and Go activity bag? Just like those, our native bee species, they're starting to decline. And some of that decline is due to loss of habitat, chemicals and pesticides being spread around. But habitat is a big part of some of their decline. So what we have in our Grab and Go, and one way that we can help maybe increase our native bee population, is to create some houses, some shelter for our native bees. So that's what we have in this week's Grab and Go activity bag. We have a mason bee house. So mason bee is native. So we have a mason bee house. So in your bag, you are going to get your instructions, of course. You are going to get I'm going to move this book out of the way. You're going to get a plastic kind of tube. There's no lid to it. You are going to get some paper straws. There's about 9 of them in your bag. You're going to get a piece of twine, and you're going to get a couple of rubber bands. Now, I'm just going to show you, this is a pretty easy project. Oh, one more thing you're going to get is this little tiny piece of paper, which I'll explain this in a minute. So, this is a really easy project, so I'm going to go through it super quickly because I think you'll be able to figure it out just by reading the instructions. The one thing I did want to show you is that the first step you're going to do is you're going to take your plastic tube and you're going to put your rubber bands over top of your plastic tube about 2 inches apart. So let's take our rubber bands and slip them on here So they are about 2 inches apart. You see that? About 2 inches apart. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your twine and you're just going to slide it underneath both of your rubber bands. And we're doing this just to create like a little looped string so we can hang it up. Okay. So you're just going to thread it through there, those 2 rubber bands underneath, pull it up to the top, and then you'll be able to tie a knot in it so that you can hang it. Okay, I'm not going to tie a knot in this one, but you will tie a knot. So the next thing you're going to do is from home, you're going to need some liquid school glue. So think Elmer's glue like you took to school and would use it at school. You might even have some at home that you have left over from school. So you are going to take your liquid glue and you're going to put just a little tiny bit in the bottom of your plastic tube, just enough to kind of fill the bottom. And if you need to, you can take your straw and kind of help spread it out so you get a nice, even, thin layer at the bottom. The next step you're going to do is you're going to take your paper straws and you're going to cut them about in half. If it's not exactly half, that's okay. So about in half. So I've done that already with the rest of my straws. So as you can see, here's the rest of them. They are not all the same size. Some are taller than others, and that's quite all right. So the next thing you're going to do is, after you've gotten the glue in and after you've cut them, you are going to take the cut paper straws and you're going to insert them into your bottle. So you want to keep it actually standing up straight. I tilted mine a little bit for you so you can see, but you want to keep yours straight. You're just going to slip them all in there. They're different sizes and different lengths, and that's okay. Now, once you get them all in, it may fit in there a little bit snugly, and that's okay. If you can't fit them all in, that's all right. You don't have to get them all in. Just get as many as you can so it's nice and snug. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to leave it sitting upright like this overnight for about 24 hours. So make sure that glue at the bottom dries. It'll help hold your straws into place. And then you will be ready to hang your mason bee house outside. Now, the reason we're hanging this mason bee house outside is, as you can see, it's got little holes in it. Now, these holes are creating a place for our native bees to go. So remember, they don't have a hive that they go into. So this allows them to have a place where they can go in and rest if it's too hot, or if it's raining, or if they just kind of need to take a little break. They can climb inside here and have a little place to rest. Now, this little tiny piece of paper you had in your bag, this gives you some tips on where to hang your mason bee house, because there's a few qualifications that the location needs to have for you to hang it up. So, it needs to be able to get full sun all the time and not really any shade, because the bees are going to need that warmth. They like the warm, so they're going to need all the sunshine they can get. So put it in a nice sunny place. It needs to be at least 3 feet off the ground, and if possible, it needs to be near a water source so they can have somewhere to go to get some water. But that's not a definite requirement, so if you don't have any water nearby, don't worry, that's okay. As long as you have it in a nice sunny place, you'll be able to hang it up. And maybe if it's near your window, you can sit outside and you can watch to see if any native bees, if a bee goes inside, more than likely it's going to be a native bee. See if a bee heads inside to take a little break. All right, guys. You can come into the library and check out some bee books if that's something of interest to you, to learn more about bees. All right, we'll see you for next time's Grab and Go. Bye.